What's up guys, welcome back to Tool Craze. So in today's episode, we're going to take a look at the Milwaukee M18 9.0 amp hour battery. So a few of the benefits of this new battery is that not only does it offer a whopping 9 amp hours of runtime capacity, it also opens up all sorts of possibilities with new and more powerful cordless power tools. A few of those examples are the Milwaukee M18 Fuel 10-inch sliding miter saw and the Milwaukee M18 Fuel SDS Max rotary hammer. Now, I'm pretty sure they could have made those same exact tools many years ago, but with the smaller capacity batteries at the time, such as the 4.0 or smaller batteries, the runtime just wouldn't be there to be very effective, as you'd have to constantly be swapping out and charging batteries. Even with the 5.0 and the 6.0 batteries, runtime would still be somewhat of an issue with higher performance power tools. But with the much higher capacity of the 9 amp hour battery, the runtime is going to be much less of an issue with higher performance power tools. And besides having more powerful tools come out, the current M18 power tools can take advantage of this battery for even longer runtime. So with its 9 amp hour capacity, you'll be able to get a little bit more than double the runtime on all your current M18 power tools compared to the older XE 4.0 battery, and a little bit less than double the runtime compared to the XE 5.0 batteries. By now I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the Makita X2 line, where they use two 18-volt batteries to make a more powerful 36-volt tool, and you're probably also familiar with the DeWalt flex-volt batteries that pump out 60 volts on 60-volt power tools. In my opinion, they're both great systems. And what's great about the Makita X2 line is that you get much more powerful 36-volt tools that operate on 18-volt batteries, which means that you don't have to switch over to a higher voltage battery platform. You don't have to manage two different batteries. But the downside to that is that with the Makita X2 tools is that you need two 18-volt batteries to operate. So that means that if you have two batteries, you really just have one battery. You can't have one battery on the tool while the other one's charging, and then you can swap between those two. You can't do that because the two batteries have to be used at the same time, which means that you only have one battery. And what's great about the DeWalt FlexVolt battery system is that they're coming out with all new 60 volt and 120 volt power tools that are very powerful. For example, they got their cordless table saw and their 12-inch sliding miter saw. And what's also great about the DeWalt FlexVolt batteries is that they're also backwards compatible with the 20 volt batteries, which means that the DeWalt FlexVolt batteries can operate on 60 volt, 120 volt, and the older 20 volt cordless power tools. And the downsides to the FlexVolt system is that in order to take advantage of the new DeWalt FlexVolt tools, you need the new FlexVolt batteries in order to operate them. For example, if you only have 5 DeWalt 20-volt batteries and you get a new DeWalt FlexVolt tool, you pretty much have no batteries for your new tool. You have to go and purchase a new DeWalt FlexVolt battery for your new FlexVolt tool. But it's a little bit weird because it's a good thing that they are backwards compatible. The 60-volt batteries are backwards compatible with the 20-volt tools. But if you only have 20-volt tools and 20-volt batteries and you get a new FlexVolt tool, then you have to get a new battery. And if you have the 120-volt miter saw, then you need two FlexVolt batteries to run that saw at the same time. Because each FlexVolt battery is 60 volts, so you need two of them to double the voltage to get 120 volts. So then you're pretty much in the same issue as the Makita X2 line. With the new M18 high demand batteries, we're getting more powerful tools such as the ones I already mentioned, plus they're coming out with new tools such as the M18 outdoor power equipment, which include the fuel string trimmer, the fuel hedge trimmer, and the fuel blower that is supposed to have the power and runtime of higher voltage tools, but are taking advantage of the M18 batteries. So that's the advantage that Milwaukee has with the 9.0 batteries, is that you get longer runtime. They're coming out with more powerful 18-volt tools that can compete with higher voltages. You don't need to upgrade to a new battery platform, and you don't need two batteries to get more power. And not to mention that the new 9.0 batteries are fully backwards compatible with other M18 power tools. And right now the battery technology is capped out at the moment in terms of how much capacity will fit in each cell. That's basically the reason why the M18 9.0 battery is much bigger than the standard XE 5.0 battery. With a regular fat pack battery such as this 5.0, you have 2 rows of 5 cells each. So you have a total of 10 battery cells inside this battery. But with the 9.0 battery, it has 3 rows of 5 cells each, making for a total of 15 battery cells inside this battery. So that's why it's bigger, because it's packing 15 battery cells inside this battery. And the downside is a bigger battery size is going to make all your tools bulkier and heavier because of the bigger battery. It becomes noticeably huge on a compact tool like a drill or an impact driver, but you do get the added benefit of way more runtime than 4.0 or 5.0 batteries. But still, I think I'd rather be using an XC battery or a compact battery on these smaller tools. Now, on a much bigger power tool, the bulkier 9.0 battery isn't much of a big deal as it fits in well with larger tools. You're going to want to be using larger 9.0 battery on larger tools anyways, as these more powerful tools will better benefit from the larger battery due to better runtime. And just for reference, here's a DeWalt 6.0 flexible battery for a size comparison. And as we can see here, they're both very similar in size overall, but the flexible is just a little bit smaller and more compact. This flexible 6.0 is actually very similar in design to the Milwaukee 9.0, as it's also running 3 rows of battery cells with a total of 15 cells. The main difference between the two is that the flexible battery can pump out 60 volts and 20 volt max, while the Milwaukee is only an 18 volt battery. A few more tidbits of info is that the Milwaukee 9.0 amp hour battery is still using the current generation 18650 cells, and so is this flexible 6.0 battery. They're not using the newer 2700 lithium cells that are set to offer even better heat reduction, better runtime, and better performance output. A few manufacturers are already moving their new batteries with the new 2700 cells, such as Metabo, Rigid with their new 5.0 battery, Bosch with their new 6.2 core battery, and DeWalt with the flexible 9.0 battery and the new 20 volt XR 6.0 battery. So from what everyone else is saying, the new 2700 cells are better than the ones in this Milwaukee 9.0 battery and this DeWalt flexible 6.0 battery. But that's if all things are equal. Now let's talk about the battery performance, first starting off with its charge time. Now, most people probably don't think about how long it takes to charge a battery when they're considering a new battery, but in my opinion, it's very important to also consider the charge time, especially with the larger battery sizes like this 9 amp hour battery. For me, getting way more runtime doesn't matter as much if it's going to take forever to charge your batteries. So with the stock M18 charger, it took 2 hours and 55 minutes, which is roughly about 3 hours. That's a pretty long time to charge in my opinion, and a considerable amount of downtime. But remember, that's with the regular chargers. And if you charge this battery with the rapid charger, you can expect a little over half the charge time at about 1 hour and 38 minutes, which is way faster than the stock chargers. And as far as runtime is concerned, we can expect the new Milwaukee 9.0 battery to outperform their own smaller batteries in terms of runtime. So for that I did a few runtime tests just to see what this bad boy is capable of. Okay, so one of the things I wasn't too crazy about with the M18 2-gallon wet dry vacuum was its runtime, as I only got 14 minutes of runtime with a 4.0 battery. It's got great performance, but very decent battery life. So with the 9.0 battery, I was able to get 33.5 minutes of runtime, which was a little over double the runtime of the 4.0 battery. I also want to mention that the 9.0 battery fits in all my M18 tools, but the only thing is that because it's so big, it barely fits into the vacuum. The top lid barely closes with the battery in place, but because the plastic on the lid flexes a little bit, it's just enough to make it close. I was also able to test out runtime with a few more M18 power tools. Remember that M18 Fuel 7 1/4 inch circular saw? I was able to get 195 cuts into 2x4 with the 4.0 battery. And with the 9.0 battery, I was able to get just a little bit over double the cuts at 456 cuts. And with the M18 Fuel 10 inch sliding miter saw, I was able to get 123 cuts into 2x10 material, which was actually not that far behind in runtime with the DeWalt flexible 120 volt 12 inch sliding miter saw that's running on 2 flexible batteries. And testing it out on the new M18 Rocket Light with charger, this light puts out a whopping 3000 lumens of brightness. And on the highest setting, I was able to get almost 4 hours of runtime, which is not that bad considering how bright that light is. And with the M18 Fuel SDS Max Rotary hammer, it also did very well in terms of runtime, as I was able to get 42.5 3/4 inch holes that were 3.5 inches deep into concrete. That's pretty impressive. And it was also able to get 24.5 minutes of chipping. And the last tool that I tested for runtime was the M18 Fuel Angle Grinder, which was able to get a very good 26 minutes of grinding. Not just light grinding, but pushing the tool pretty hard. So just as expected, the runtime figures are very good as we could expect with a larger battery. Now let's move on to performance. Milwaukee claims that we can expect more power coming out of our tools if we use a new 9.0 battery. So here, let's give it a shot with some side-by-side comparisons, starting off with the Milwaukee M18 Fuel first generation hammer drill to see if we can get more performance with the new battery. So for the first test, the 9.0 is going up against the 4.0, which is what most of you guys have. And in this test, they'll be driving a 5/16 inch lag. Now, normally this is no problem for this drill if it's done on a high torque speed 1 setting, but it's something that this drill struggles with in the high speed 2 setting. So in this test, it's going to be running on the speed 2 setting to see if we get better performance with a larger battery. But as we can see, we're basically getting the same performance out of the drill with either battery, and the larger 9.0 battery isn't giving the hammer drill added performance. This next test is the same drill, the same 2 batteries, but they'll be drilling with the Irwin Speedbore Max 1¼ inch bit, but also on the speed 2 setting. And just like the last test, this drill can do this test no problem on speed 1, but struggles on speed 2. And basically we're seeing very similar performance between the 2 batteries. There is a moment that the bit spins freely and causes the 4.0 battery to take longer to drill, but that's the bit's fault, not the battery's fault. So I'd say that this is still a tie. This next test is almost the same as the first test, except with a much larger 1/2 inch lag screw. But unlike the smaller lag, this drill struggles to do this test in speed 1. And it's pretty much a repeat of the first lag, as I'm not seeing any noticeable difference in performance here with the larger battery, as they both got just as far before the overload protection kicked in. And it's taking just as long as a 4.0 battery to fully sink the lag. So here we have another tie. Going back to some large hole drilling, here we have a 2 9/16 inch Selfie bit, and the drill is set to speed 1 because it takes a lot of huevos to drill with this bit. Here they both seem to drill about at the same speed as they take off, and several seconds later, there's finally a tiebreaker as the 9.0 battery finishes with a noticeable finish. Not a huge difference as the 4.0 battery finishes very soon after the 9.0 battery. Next up is some hammer drilling with the M18 Fuel SDS Max Rotary Hammer. Different tool, but the same batteries. Here the rotary hammer is drilling into a concrete slab that's about 3.5 inches thick with a 3/4 inch drill bit. These are some big old holes, and it takes a lot of performance to drill them out. So first to finish is a 9.0 battery, and unlike the Selfie bit, there's a pretty big lead as the 4.0 battery is still going. But I do want to mention that when I first tested out the M18 rotary hammer, I also tried out the 5.0 battery, and the results were pretty much the same. So here we'll compare the 9.0 with the 5.0, so you can see that there's basically no difference in drilling speed. The only thing I can think of for the big difference in performance between the 4.0 and the 9.0 could be heat buildup in the 4.0 battery, since smaller capacity batteries don't run as cool as the larger batteries. Or it could be that this 4.0 battery is one of my older batteries. Batteries tend to lose performance as they age. Or it could be heat buildup and age. Next we'll move on to doing some cuts with the fuel circular saw, and side by side with the 4.0 battery, there's basically no difference in cutting speed while cross-cutting 2x4s. So it's another tie between the two. And the last test is going to push the saw to the max while it rip cuts a 2x4 at a 4-foot length. And not soon after both batteries start, that you can see a big difference in performance between the 2 batteries. Here the 9.0 battery clearly makes the fuel circular saw into different beats. And as far as heat buildup is concerned, it's pretty well known that the larger capacity batteries can dissipate heat better and they run cooler longer. I was able to see this as this 9.0 battery ran cooler than the smaller capacity batteries. Now, I didn't do any extensive testing for this, but running the same test with this battery compared to the smaller batteries, the 9.0 always ran a little bit cooler than the smaller capacity batteries. So what's great about having less heat buildup is you'll have less chances of overheating your battery. you'll get greater performance over the life of your battery, you'll get better runtime, and you'll have a longer lasting battery. And why? And that's because heat kills performance, heat kills runtime, and heat kills the life of your batteries. So that's pretty much it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up by liking this video, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and follow me on social media over at Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And also on the Tool Craze website, that's www.toolcraze.net, and you're missing out on a lot of content if you're not already a regular visitor. I have daily content on there such as tool news, where you're going to hear about the latest tools that are coming out. There's also tool deals, and also tool reviews you won't see here on this YouTube channel. And there's daily content on there every weekday, so make sure to check out the website often. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.